In today's episode of the Python Presents podcast, I got a very interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Kristina Simonson, and she's hailing over from the folks over at Privy. She's setting up marketing, and what we really want to deep dive into, what Privy is all about. The website actually gives it away, right? It's the fastest way to grow sales with email and SMS. And today we want to really deep dive into what that actually means, who's benefiting the most, and in which use cases Privy is a major help. So, Kristina, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thank you. And thanks for having me.
Sure. Yeah. So give us maybe a quick sort of, bird's eye perspective overview. What is Privy all about in your own words?
Yeah. So I think you said it really well right from our tagline on the site, but Privy is an e-commerce marketing platform that provides the tools and the coaching to help online brands grow sales. We do that through email and SMS.
Very cool. Now, could you give me sort of an overview? Who would be benefiting most? Like what types of businesses are leveraging the platform? Is there a certain scale that they need to have? Is there platforms, limitations? Maybe give us an insight. Who really gets the most out of it?
Yeah, so we are really focused on Shopify merchants and more of an SMB to mid-market store, though we do support other ecosystems like BigCommerce and Wix. So really built for online e-commerce brands, but again, specializing more with that Shopify merchant who's in that range from SMB to mid-market.
Mm-hmm. And have you guys seen any sort of specific use cases where Privy fits really well? I mean, there's a lot of different types of Shopify stores, of course. Where do you see like an amazing fit?
Yeah, so we do see a ton of different industries, types of stores. I think it's always interesting kind of poking around and seeing all the different types of stores that sign up. I'd say the most common industries we'll typically see are things like clothing and beauty, but again, have a pretty wide range in terms of industries. Mm-hmm. I will say in terms of what are the profiles most commonly look like for merchants that are going to sign up with Privy, but also use Privy long term is in most cases, it's a lot of time the owner operator that's growing their brand, getting started. Again, not exactly just getting started with their store, but they don't have a massive team supporting them, and they're managing and wearing a lot of different hats to help manage and grow their store. So we're typically seeing and working with brands, again, SMB to mid market, but typically pretty small teams, and a lot of times we're actually working with the owner operator of that brand.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no, that makes a whole lot of sense. Now, how did these guys hear about Privy? Like, what's sort of the journey that they go through in order to get started with you guys? Or maybe in other words, what are the client acquisition channels that you're leveraging there?
Yeah. So one of the number one places that merchants find out about us is the Shopify App Store. So that's been, such a big acquisition engine for us over the past years, especially as more and more Shopify brands come online. The App Store is a great channel for them to go discover new tools and get started. So that's the number one lead source or number one place that we see most merchants come through. I will say, though, we're also very invested in building up our own channels through Privy.com and through our website. So we kind of think about our acquisition channels and our strategy in different buckets where we have, our ecosystems where we're within app stores and marketplaces, but then we have our own demand and our own acquisition channels that we're funneling through Privy.com. So very different, distinct buckets, but we do operate and optimize in those in different ways.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. I mean, it's interesting. You brought up the website. I mean, notoriously, at least on the show, organizations that run on the Shopify marketplace, the website sometimes plays a secondary role. Like, how do you think about that? Like, what role do you see for the website at the moment, and how do you see that evolving in the future?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. I think being able to one of the most important things I talk about, the App Store and these marketplaces are an amazing place to drive new users through the door and get visibility. So when we think about that, our goal is really about discoverability. So when someone's there and they're looking for a tool like Privy and they're in the market kind of browsing, we want to make sure that we're discoverable. So we optimize and take action according to that. We also know, though, a lot of merchants, our customers, our prospects don't always go to the App Store and they want to do their own research. We actually recently ran a survey. We asked merchants, we asked our ICP, how do you prefer to hear about new tools? How do you prefer to get started? And the number one choice was, I prefer to do my own research. So we know that there is this behavior that while a lot of merchants go to the App Store, a lot of them also go search outside of that. And they want, to search through Google or YouTube, or they want to ask their friends or communities. So when we think about, driving demand, we really focus on Privy.com for serving those use cases. When someone is looking outside of the ecosystem, how do we build up that engine as well?
Okay, I see. Makes a whole lot of sense. Now, and then as a marketer, the conversion goal on the website could be either to get them back to the store, or is there any other ways that you think this will evolve in the future?
Yeah, so we are primarily driven with users getting started through a trial. So if you add us on the Shopify App Store, you'll start right within our trial. And majority, as you've seen on our website, our CTAs are to get started and create a trial. We do actually funnel more people through something we've been experimenting with, but even if they do come through Privy.com, it's actually optimal if they go and sign up and authenticate through Shopify. So we've been kind of optimizing with that as well. But I think the other interesting funnel we haven't experimented as much with, but I think we will, is the idea of getting a demo before you take a trial, for example. I think there's also a behavior, especially for brands that might already be set up or established with another tool. If they want to explore Privy, they might be more likely actually to book a demo and chat with someone in sales, or get an overview of the tool before they actually start with the trial. So we're also keeping that top of mind of how do we make it present and available for someone that actually wants to talk to someone first. And I think that's another journey that we'll experiment with and definitely want to learn a little bit more about as well.
Very cool. Now, some marketers have been bringing up sort of the cookieless future on the podcast, right? And changing a little bit the landscape for marketers. Is that sort of a topic, marketers in your industry already start talking about? Is it a bit more on the back burner? What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, so definitely a hot topic. I would say in my own journey, I'm someone that's started my career more in the ad space. So that's definitely something that's always top of mind for me. I think also for the e-commerce industry, it's just massive when you think about the impact of things just like iOS on how that's impacted Facebook ads and how it's impacted brands being able to grow new customers and find new users. So definitely has been, I think, a big topic of conversation. I think that's why at Privy, we really, preach and educate around the importance of owning your list and building up your own list, because, Ben, our CEO and founder, he always says these lines of he quotes from Shopify. We have this tweet that we typically quote, but that says, you can own two things on the internet, and it's your website and it's your list. And when you think about, growing your acquisition engine, growing sales, how do you get people to, onto your email or onto your SMS list so that you can continue to nurture them and educate them as well? So I think, especially when you think about e-commerce, that's definitely a big topic.
I see. Very interesting. Cool. Let's switch gears a little bit. We talked a bit about what you guys are doing at Privy. We talked about growth, the website, the channels a little bit, and how this will evolve. Now, I have a couple of rapid fire questions to get to know you and your journey a little bit better. Are you ready for those?
Cool. Yeah, let's do it.
What is the last book that you read?
Oh, last book. So I actually am in the progress with what's called Playing to Win. I have it actually on my table over here. So I've been reading that. So that's in progress, but that's the one that's top of mind for me.
What's one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Focus on the most at the moment. I would say really nailing down our ICP. So we talked a little bit about this at the beginning, who we serve and why. And I think that's a really big initiative for us, just getting really tight around who we want to serve, build for, acquire. So that would definitely be a big topic for us right now.
If there would be no boundaries in technology, what's the one thing that you would fix for your role today in marketing?
One thing you would fix. If there's no, what do you mean, bounds in terms of technology?
Everything is possible. You have a magic wand, you can wish and it will be there, but only once.
Interesting. That's a tough one. I think one of the, and maybe this isn't as relevant for this question, but I think just one topic too that will limit marketers a lot is just when you think about reporting and analytics, which I do think is such an important topic to nail down. But I do think sometimes we get ourselves so stuck on, can I find, like, what's the data telling me, or can I track this? And I think, if we could get rid of the can I track it, and it just made everything a lot easier, or like streamline that view to tell a really quick and easy picture, even if it was a really complex scenario. I think that's something that I find a lot of marketers, myself, losing a lot of time over, just trying to kind of crack the code there.
And for the very last question, if we go back to the days of Babson College, right? You're heading out of formal education into the world of business and growth and marketing. What's the one advice that you would give yourself for your journey?
Ooh, I'd say the one advice is, you don't need to know what you want to do, or you don't need to have clarity on what you want to do, especially in college. I think about, I look back, and would I have had any idea what I'm doing now would be what I'm doing? I don't think so. So I think just kind of giving yourself that like freedom and grace to kind of, obviously take your classes, get experiences, but what I've learned in the workforce, getting out of college and in the different roles I've had is just, always be looking to learn, find new ways to move the needle for a business, and you kind of just find yourself evolving in your role and getting new opportunities. So I'd say, I think just kind of going back to the first point, which is you don't need to know, because your career is going to just evolve in a lot of different ways, and just, staying agile with that.
Very cool. So Kristina, I want to give you basically the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed today, what's the one thing that they should remember about Privy?
Yeah, I'd say one thing they should remember about Privy is that we are an all-in-one e-commerce marketing platform. I talked a lot about what we offer, but I think one of the biggest things that we pride ourselves in our mission is that we have our merchants back. We really focus on support and coaching. So, if there are any e-commerce brands that are looking for a tool that not only is going to help them drive results, but is going to be there for them, coaching them and assisting them along the way, Privy's there for you. So I think that'd be the last comment that I'd add.
Very cool. Kristina, thanks a lot for joining PathMonk for today's episode.
Of course. Thanks for having me.